everybody. It's Nanny and the Moose, and we're outside today. It's a really lovely day. And first of all, I want to tell you about our topic today. We're kind of switching gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about some things from our childhood. For instance, what do you miss, or what did you really love about your childhood? Not that you really want it today, but you look back with very happy memories of it. You're looking at a beautiful wall that is in the process of being built, a driveway wall, by Colleen's husband, Micah, who's so handy. And he's done so much brickwork around his garden, around his house. And as I have been watching him do this, it sort of reminded me of when we lived in Scotland. We were very fortunate to actually see Roman walls, Hadrian's Wall in Scotland. Micah's wall brought me back, present and the past, to Hadrian's Wall.
Thinking out loud here to myself that where we lived in Bear's Den, there was a street called Roman Road.
Right.
Remember that?
Roman Road.
I'm going to look that up on Google and see exactly where it was. Well, we traveled on Roman Road.
Well, when I was doing my research on Hadrian's Wall, which this wall led me back to Hadrian's Wall in Scotland, I read all of a sudden the word Bear's Den came up, and that's the little village that we lived in. And they talked about along a well-traveled road that ran through Bear's Den to Clydebank. This is the west of Scotland. There was, tucked behind a hill right off that road, a remnant of the old Roman a bathhouse. Interesting.
Yep.
Anyway, one of the things that we're talking about today is our childhood. I thought we'd mix it up a little bit. We've been talking about beauty and what else have we been talking about?
Amazon bargains.
I want you to think about some things of your childhood that you, not yearning for, but missed and loved. Now I'm going to tell you a few of mine, and then Moosey will tell a few of his.
Well, mine are longer than yours.
They always are, Moose. You're hired. Remember, you started off with cameos, and then you got into central casting, and from what I heard, you were hired. Everybody loved you.
I can't do cameos anymore because I need a haircut.
No, try a cameo today because I'm going to do a shout out too.
Okay.
So I need to do that. One of my things that I remember most, and it goes along with my thinking of today, the fairy tale living. I used to love to play dress up as a little girl, and very often as a princess, with the crown, the wand, the whole Tinkerbell magic dust thing. I believed that I was a real princess and that I could do certain things. I could fly, I could do all kinds of things, and it was wonderful. I also loved reading old books about little girls in Victorian dresses and big bows and long curls, and the type of lifestyle they had, having picnics out in the woods. Loved to play outside at night after dinner. Always had to finish our dinner, eat the peas on our plate. Remember those days when you weren't allowed to go out and play at night in the summer unless you finished everything, and that mostly meant peas with me. What was it with you?
Broccoli.
Broccoli. I still won't let you out at night until you eat your broccoli. So we would go out at night, play hide and go seek. We had a group of kids in the neighborhood, and the fireflies would come out. We'd catch them and put them in bottles. That was a part of wonderful summertime living back east. Now you tell us about some of yours.
The town I grew up in was Rutherford, New Jersey. It's on the Passaic River, and either 500 or 800 or in the Ice Age, the Passaic River has a turn there, overflowed its banks, and dropped 10,000 acres of sandy, silty, soily, and what was created there were meadows, which were some woods, some ponds. It's all developed now, all those houses. But it was wildlife for birds, wildlife for little critters. And I guess I was 7, 8, 9 years old. I'd leave the house with my buddies and walk a mile down to the Meds, as we called it. And, you know, it's horrible to think of anybody doing that, letting your kids walk down, go down to the woods. So anyway, that was one of the things that I totally enjoyed doing. And the little things we did, beside bird watching, was we'd go to a pond and catch pollywogs.
Oh, yeah.
And keep them in a jar until they became frogs. Or became stinky, I don't know which.
You know, speaking of your parents trusting you, the world was different then. Parents didn't have to worry about bad guys. And I remember being under 10 and taking the trolley down Bloomfield Avenue to Newark. My mother would give us $5 each, and we would go to Kresge's and what's one of the other big department stores down in Newark?
Bamberger's.
Bamberger's. And I would come home with a sundress, a book, and something else, all for $5. And my friend and I, Merrill Murray, would spend the day. I bet we were under 10, and I just can't imagine doing that at all. One of the things that goes along with my being a fairy princess is my eternal optimism as a child. I also, going back to the early TV and radio, there were a couple of those talent shows. Arthur Godfrey's Talent something or other. First he was on radio and then he was on TV.
And then Horn and Hardart.
Right, and Ted Mack's Amateur Hour.
Yeah.
And my friend Merrill, again, I used to play the piano and she and I would sing. And we thought that we were so good that we could try out for this amateur hour. I don't know whether we ever did the paperwork, but we just, the optimism of being a child and thinking all the wonderful things you can do, to me, is amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
Do you remember being like that?
Yes, all the time. I wanted to be an Eagle Scout.
You didn't make it.
No, but Mikey did.
We have a son who became an Eagle Scout at 15.
Young
right?
man, just young.
Yep. Now, getting back to some of the more practical things that we as aging seniors might miss from our youth, let's call it. Do you remember when you didn't want to take naps at all? You didn't want to nap. What would you give now to take a nap or two a day?
I do.
I know. Come to think of it, I do too. Being able to sleep all night long.
Yeah.
That's a bummer, isn't it?
That doesn't happen very much.
No. Moosey and I are in that phase of life where if I get 2.5 solid hours of sleep a night, I think that's great. You wake up, you read your Kindle, I look at YouTube, we're up for an hour or two, we go back to sleep again. I don't think I managed to get more than 5 hours of sleep a night, and thus the naps in the daytime. Sometimes I don't need them. I remember when I was sick and I had to stay home from school, my mother would take my father to the train station in the morning and come back with donuts and hot chocolate and comic books and crayons. You remember those days?
Yeah.
Don't you ever bring me crayons and coloring books?
I will.
Will you do that next time? My hip is acting up again, so maybe you...
Stay in bed, I'll get some crayons.
Okay, some crayons. When you were younger, you had a better balance of work and play. You played more, worked less. In fact, you probably didn't work much at all in your youth until you were maybe 15, 16. What about worries? The only thing I worried about was in 3rd grade. We had ink wells. We didn't have ballpoint pens. They weren't invented yet. And I don't know, this was in the 40s, I guess, 3rd grade. Yeah. And Sister Marie Claire said I ran out of ink. And she said I couldn't get my inkwell filled up for 1 more week. That was inkwell week. And I was a wreck. I remember, I had one of those nervous stomachs anyway. And in the morning when it was time for me to go to school that week, every morning I'd feel as if I was sick. And my mother would say, "What's the matter? Go. No, I don't feel." Honestly, I worried so much about the ink in my inkwell, or not ink in my inkwell. The worries we had then, right?
The worry that I had right through high school was exams. This was a very strict school, and about 1/3 of the guys that started were tossed out for marks.
Was this high school?
Yeah, and the way it worked was, you had your Christmas vacation. The day you got back from Christmas vacation started finals for the previous semester. Well, it didn't make for a very nice Christmas vacation.
I know.
Because, you know, trying to figure out how to parse Latin words and what have you.
Right, you'd spend the whole vacation prepping for the exams when you got back to school. That was like that in college too.
I made it.
Hear the birds? Look at them up there. What are they?
That's a acorn.
Oh, the woodpecker.
Acorn woodpecker. There's about 12 of them in these palm trees.
And the good thing about the woodpeckers is that they keep the doves away from the feeders. Now, our little patio is right over this wall. Our home is down here, and then Colleen and Micah and in the big house are this way. I want to point something out. We'll digress here for a minute. Look down here. Micah has been doing this wall, and it goes all the way up to the house. He's done all this brickwork. He's done beautiful brickwork at the house. Do you see anything right here? I'm going to point to this that looks like something. Look very carefully at it. Starting down here and coming up to there. Do you see anything? Okay, you've had your chance. You know what it is? A house, a little house. Here's the chimney. Here's the puffs of smoke. Here's the roof. See the triangle? And these 2 stones are the house.
Show them the leprechaun. No.
I don't know where the leprechaun is. Did I miss that?
I forgot it.
Oh dear. I want to give a shout out to a gal who has a channel, and I've been trying to do this for a week. I was going to do it in the last video, and we were discussing something. I forget what it was, but it related so much to their channel. When, oh, I know, was you recovering, getting your mojo back. This gal's channel is called Take Control Beauty. And her name is Barb. And she does wig reviews, she does makeup. She's 77 years old. Her skin, she doesn't have a wrinkle in her face. Her neck and chest and shoulders are beautiful. And she is funny. She has great humor, which is what attracted me to her channel in the beginning. And her wonderful thing about her is she's very prayerful, and they've had some very difficult health scares. They both had COVID. Her husband contracted COVID in April, and I guess he was quite sick. He was intubated. And when she was talking about the things she did in 2020 that she was most proud of and that she loved the most, was bringing Denny home from the hospital alive. I love Barb. I want you to go to her channel. You are gonna love her. She does great makeup, and the wigs are fab. Every little wig has a lady's name. Pippa was one of my favorites. So go to her channel, Take Control Beauty. I'll put a graphic underneath this, and tell her that Nanny sent you, and then come on back to us, okay? Well, to kind of sum up the topic a little bit here, we can live our lives a little bit with our childhood loves and things we used to love to do, but do some of those things in some ways that are a little different now that we're older. For instance, we don't have to ride on trolley cars. There aren't trolley cars around anymore, but we can take nice little day trips here and there. Might not be able to buy a few things for $5 like we used to, but little shopping trips here and there are fun too. Now think about being at home, which is something that we are doing a lot of these days with COVID. How about spending a whole weekend at home and pretending that you're away? Now, Moosey and I did this a long, long time ago. Do you remember that, Moose?
Oh, yeah.
We were going to go to Las Vegas for a weekend. At that time, Moose flew little small planes. We were going to fly a plane over. But the weather was bad, and we had to cancel. Well, we were disappointed, and we decided that we were going to stay in our bedroom all weekend long and pretend that we were away. Now, keep in mind that we did have 6 children. We had 4 semi-teenagers. They were, actually, I think the oldest was probably 16 at the time. And then we had 2 little toddlers, Mikey and Colleen. So we decided that the kids could all take care of each other, and Moose and I would stay in a little, the bedroom kind of encompassed a little den, and of course our bathroom, and then off the bedroom was a nice big patio where we could, was a private patio, a bedroom patio. So we kind of had a nice little area there. The only thing we didn't have was access to the kitchen. So we decided that the children could bring us meals and they would take care of each other. The rule was that they were not to bother us, only in the event of an emergency. Now, we did have 2 telephone lines as well. I was in real estate at the time, and I did have a business line in the bedroom. And then we had the home line. So we started the weekend off fine. We had prepared some meals that were very easy for the kids to bring in to us. Now, they all knew how to cook to begin with. So Saturday morning, we woke up late. Bill snuck into the kitchen early and made 2 Bloody Marys. And then we decided that we needed the paper. Well, by that time, of course, the toddlers were up and the teenagers were busy taking care of all the kids. So Bill called up Billy and said, "Sir, could you please get the paper outside and deliver it to us at our door?" And pretty soon we heard a knock on the door. Billy, who was about 16, the children all thought this was really weird that their parents were doing this, knocked on the door. Bill went to the door. "Thank you, sir." Billy kind of stood there shaking his head. Well, the weekend went beautifully. They never really did interrupt us. We had the most wonderful weekend, reading Sunday papers in bed, the kids bringing meals in, and it was wonderful. Now, that's an idea. That is a bit strange, but it's a good idea. Do you remember when your parents would sit and chat and have a great cup of coffee and kind of sigh as they were drinking their coffee? Didn't you wonder, what do they see in a cup of coffee? Well, we know now, don't we? We really enjoy that cup. In fact, I think my cup of coffee in the morning with whipped cream on top is probably the best meal of the day. So trying to think now, as we are aging, as to how we can recreate some of those little things we loved back then, there is a way to do it. Even my loving dressing up as a princess, I create my own little fairy tales. I have a little cottage. I try and make it look like a little fairy tale cottage. There are many things you can do to keep this life going that you loved so much as a child. Kind of a carefree life. It's much easier to do right now during COVID when we are home. Make use of this time at home. Have a little quiet weekend. Pretend that you're away. watch some Netflix, have some fun, hop into bed early and have your supper in bed. Another thing you can do, you can get up nice and early when your mate is sleeping, or if you have children in the house still, everyone's asleep. Go outside, wrap yourself in a blanket and sit down. Just take advantage of that early morning sunrise with a cup of coffee. Sit and watch the birds. Just enjoy nature. The simple things sometimes are the things that we love more than anything, and we might as well enjoy them now. I love the silence of the early morning, except for the birds. So it's a very simple video this time. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you in our next video. God bless us all. Bye for now.